you're struggling today.
Honestly, I feel worse for the listeners right now.
You poor thing. He's been struggling with this thing for a while now, but we're looking for the return of that big booming voice soon, so don't
I'm hoping
there, my friend.
After this weekend it'll be back.
You just got to go home and sit down and
drink some whiskey or something.
Yeah, exactly. Just relax for the weekend and don't take any risks. All right. Thank you very much for that update. I appreciate it. All right. So we talked about this a bit yesterday. The treasurer of the city of St. Louis have started a GoFundMe page to try to raise money to move a Confederate monument. It's been there for 103 years. Suddenly, it's a priority. And this is something that sticks in my craw. There's no reason for it. It's nonsensical. You can't deny what's happened in our past. That doesn't make it go away. These people have managed to raise $5,600 toward a $25,000 goal on this GoFundMe page started by the treasurer in the city. And now they've got some of the liberal city council members who are contributing. I mean, you can look on here and see who's contributed to it. It's the who's who of the left in the city of St. Louis. It's unbelievable. These are the folks that are protesting in the streets because they don't like the words that Donald Trump uses. It's sad. Our friend Peggy Hubbard is joining us right now. Of course, we've had Peggy on the show before talking about issues involving Ferguson and the police and things like that. And Peggy reached out to me last night and said she's had it up to here with this Confederate monument talk. Peggy Hubbard, how are you?
I'm pretty good and pretty pissed.
I understand that. I saw a few of your comments on this. I saw where a child had been shot in a car in the city of St. Louis, and you use that as an example of why their priorities are a little screwed up when the mayor has issues like that they're facing in the city. But the headline in the newspaper is a fundraising effort to remove a 103-year-old granite monument.
Which, by the way, may be protected, I'm finding out, and I'm doing a whole lot of research and background on this. I'm a history buff. I'm a history major. That's what I do. I love history.
Oh, good.
You know, my grandmother always said, how do you know when you're going and you don't know where you came from? So history in our house was very, very big, and she was keen on that. Now, this statue, if I'm correct, it may be protected by the Historical Society.
Oh, really?
It's been there for it could be. I'm looking into it. And I'm trying to find out how Mayor Krewson just got elected, who just took office, how is she doing this? And she's saying that people have expressed it to her. I want to see evidence and documentation of how this is hurting the black community's feelings. We had an 8-year-old shot. We had a 12-year-old shot within 24 hours. And then we had a 22-year-old man, all in the same neighborhood, all within a block of each other, shot dead twice in the head, laying in the middle of the street. And her priority for the city is to raise over $100,000 to take down a statue. What about the firefighter and police officers who hadn't had a raise in over 3 to 4 years? Your priority is a statue, and Mark, it's just crazy.
Well, it's almost like a need to pander to the progressive base, the activist base in the city that would be fired up over something like this that I don't understand.
What it is, she's trying to keep the black vote. Now, it's no secret that I'm a Republican. It's no secret that I voted for Trump. She's trying to appease the black voters. Taking down a statue is not going to help the black community. The black community doesn't even know about that statue. If you ask them about that statue, they couldn't even tell you where it is or who it's about.
I wonder how many of the people that are complaining about it have seen it outside of the picture that was on the front page of the Post.
No one has.
No
one has.
No.
I mean, I want to see documents from the city, from the mayor. She said she had complaints. I want to see these complaints. Did she go through the process of the board for Forever Forest Park? Did she go through them and had a meeting and bring it to a vote and talk to these committees about this statue? I don't think she did. She made an arbitrary, she decided to take this thing down herself because it's hurtful for the black community. What's hurtful for the black community is we keep getting bullets in our backside.
I know
that's hurtful.
I know you told me this story one time when I had you on the air, but you grew up in on the north side of the city, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Wells Goodfellow neighborhood. I grew up there, born and raised.
And this Confederate statue was in Forest Park when you were little. Did people tell horror stories about it, or what kind of an impact did it have on your life?
My grandmother took us to the History Museum, okay? She took us to the Art Museum. She took us to this statue. She explained to us that this statue was put here in memory and commemorate of the fallen of the Civil War. My grandmother even went as far as to make us read about the Civil War, and she showed us photos of blacks fighting in the Civil War. And we were always told that the whites that fought in the Confederate side were all whites. They weren't. They were blacks. They were Hispanics. They were Indians that fought in the Civil War on the side of the Confederate. Are we supposed to forget about those individuals as well? Because they fought on the side of the South. A lot of them didn't have a choice. A lot of them didn't.
Yeah,
they did what they were told to do.
I invited Treasurer Treasurer Jones onto the program, and they declined politely, but they declined to come on the show and talk about it because she probably suspected she wouldn't find a great deal of support for this effort among my listeners. Certainly, I mean, I told him I disagreed with her, but I wanted to have a conversation with her as to why this had suddenly become such an issue after 104 years. What difference is it going to make if most people don't even know, if they couldn't find it on a map right now and have never seen it, when it's gone, why is that going to make them feel better? There's another statue in Forest Park to Franz Siegel. He was a Civil War soldier, but he happened to be a Union soldier fighting for German American citizens on the Union side.
Exactly. And did you know, and a lot of people did not know this story, Henry Shaw's Garden, was a Confederate. He owned 30 slaves.
We need to shut her down. We need to shut down
the
Botanical Garden.
People don't know that he supported the Confederate Army. He held slaves. Slaves built Shaw's Garden. But we got a statue of him that's going to stand in the park, but you're going to take this down. If you're going to take it down, you better do it across the board. Let's take down the old courthouse. They sold us on the steps. They kept us in the basement. Lewis and Clark. Clark had a slave that was on the expedition. His name was York. Yep. People don't know that. But we got a statue erected down on the riverfront. So what's the need of taking down this historical history of what we have in our city? We need to educate. We need to teach so we don't repeat. Taking it down is not going to heal what's going on in North St. Louis. We have babies dying, and her priority is a statue. Lady, please.
Well said. Peggy, are you still doing Peggy's Corner on Facebook?
Yes, and I am also putting up a GoFundMe account fundraiser to have an event at the statue, and I'm looking at a tentative date of June the 3rd, and I'm going to need all the people I can possibly gather to help me with this, because I feel as a black American, as an American first, who happens to be black, this is our history. This is our heritage. We should not wipe it away. It needs to stand.
People need to understand what happened. You can't just ignore. I couldn't agree with you more. Peggy, I tell you what, keep me updated, and I'll give people updates here on the air once you've got that June 3rd date confirmed, and we'll try to help you raise